Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is day 24 of 31 days of Psalms, and today is going to be good. It's going to be really, really, really good. But first, um, there's a couple of things that my pastor sent to me this morning that applies to the content I was talking about yesterday and a couple of the other days about building your armor. When you put on the full armor of God, you're telling the devil that he has to go through Jesus to get to you. And that's what I was trying to express. The more we build and confide and trust little by little, we're building that armor. Now, like I said, it doesn't mean we won't have trials, we won't have things that go wrong, but it's different. You don't look at it as there's no way out anymore, that there's only darkness, that you've got to use some other type of crutch to get through it. It means that it will not get to you because Jesus comes between you and it. And then there's one other thing I wanted to highlight, and that's James 1:5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, and it shall be given him. Um, That is a powerful, powerful scripture because we lack wisdom about so many things. We don't know what we don't know. If you ask and believe He's going to show you, share with you, guide you, and just be patient, you will get that wisdom. And then there's peace with God and the peace of God in a man's heart and the joy of fellowship with Christ have in themselves a beneficial effect upon the body and mind. A beneficial effect on the body and mind. You know, that weight that I can't get up out of the bed in the morning and put my feet on the floor because I'm just so heavy. I'm just weighed down so bad by life. It will lead to the develop and preservation of your physical and mental power. That is huge. Okay, so let's get into today's scripture, Psalm 101, and I am going to read from the New Living Translation, and it's short, eight verses, and the short chapters are just as powerful as the longer chapters, if not more powerful. So, verse 1, I will sing of your love and justice, Lord. I will praise you with songs. I will be careful to live a blameless life. When will you come to help me? I will lead a life of integrity in my home. I will refuse to look at anything vile and vulgar. I hate all who deal crookedly. I will have nothing to do with them. I will reject perverse ideas and stay away from every evil. I will not tolerate people who slander their neighbors. I will not endure conceit and pride. I will search for faithful people to be my companions. Only those who are above reproach will be allowed to serve me. I will not allow deceivers to serve in my house, and liars will not stay in my presence. My daily task will be to ferret out the wicked and free the city of the Lord and free the city of the Lord from their grip. I just want to back up to verse, let's see. I will be careful to live a blameless life. When will you come to help me? That reflects back to that verse, James 1:5. If you lack wisdom, you can ask, you can pray this psalm right here to ask for that wisdom. Now let's take this apart. And this is a psalm that David wrote. And this he wrote to as a vow, VOW, to the Lord because he was in a high position as king. So he made a promise to God through this psalm to govern his life and his kingdom with the principles and the morals and the values that he knew God wished and expected of him now that he was in that position. So he's saying, I'm going to have a life of integrity, of righteousness, both personally and as a leader. Um, so he just commits to having a blameless heart throughout the scriptures and surrounding himself with people in his court, if you will, who uphold godly principles themselves, support him in the way and guide him, be able to bounce things off of them, knowing where their heart is, his circle, right? Knowing that his circle is where it needs to be and who it needs to be, that they're going to give him the right kind of advice or support. So this also serves as a guide or a template for us on how we, can live in God's will and remind us, though, how easy it is to fall short. Often we make vows to God, just like David did, whether it's to live, um, if also make bargains. If you help me get through this, if this test will be negative, I promise. If this relationship works out, I promise. Um, or I am going to I'm going to make sure I raise my kids knowing you. We're going to be in church every Sunday. Um, Maybe it's promises or vows, whatever it may be, to serve others, but we fall short. We have good intentions, just like David did. We want to do what's right because we want to be happy. We don't want to make bad decisions. We don't want to fall into temptation, but that's what the world's about, right? In verses 3 and 4, David's talking about the bad influences that are in the world, and we're surrounded by them. We are daily hit with them if we watch the news, if we are out in public. It's in the school system. It is when you go to the doctor's office, you can be hit with negativity. You can overhear things that you don't want to hear. Social media, you can be reading articles online and the ads are just vulgar. They're things that you can't unsee. And people know that. They know that. And so we are hit from all angles, trying to do the right thing, and yet we've been exposed to all the wrong things. And we can't live in a bubble, even though we would like to. So David, he didn't live in a bubble either. He wanted to serve righteously. He wanted to be in alignment with God's morals and values and what he wanted, but that's not exactly how it went for him, is it? Verse 3 and 4 says, I will set nothing wicked before my eyes. Going back to what we get exposed to. I hate the work of those who fall away. Yeah, we may hate it, but we can't always prevent it from coming across. It shall not cling to me. You can't unsee what you saw. You can't unhear what you've heard. You can't unfeel what you felt. But going back to the armor of God, building that armor, do you know him? And are you building an armor with him? Or are you in that place where it's still dark and you don't see any light and you don't have a relationship with him? David had a relationship with him and he still messed up. He talked in this psalm about all the things that he would avoid, and yet he succumbed to all of them. It became stumbling blocks for him. But here's the sweet thing. Our relationship with God is that he doesn't abandon us. He didn't abandon David. When we mess up, when we fail, we are so hard on ourselves and we're hard on others because we put people on a pedestal. We expect them to be perfect, just like pastors, just like presidents, government officials, the police department, the medical professionals, finance professionals, accounting, business of all type. We put people on a pedestal because we expect them to be perfect. But when they don't have values, when they don't value other people, that's where the big problem happens because they don't even attempt to clean up the mess they made or take responsibility. Do you take responsibility? It's hard. It's hard to say I messed up. It's hard not to hide from God when you mess up because of the shame, even though we know He sees all, He knows all. But it's hard to go to Him and say the things that we know we've done wrong because of how we feel about ourselves and the weight. Is, does He look at me differently because I messed up? Because I did this? Because I said this? Because I acted this out? You're still His creation. He understands that we have sin. And I'm not going to get into why. I know people ask why. Why does He allow it? That's from the beginning. But He gave us a way out. He gave us part of Himself to walk here, to experience what we experience. And He does not abandon us. He sees us and remembers us. He loves us. He may grieve for us. But if you know the Lord and you have accepted Him and you believe that Jesus walked on this earth, you are covered by the blood. So that bounces off. That's part of your protection. That's part of your armor. So let's move on. Let's talk about the leadership piece. Early I will destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all the evildoers from the city of the Lord. Whew. David was very strong in his stance on removing wickedness. It extended to leadership, emphasizing righteousness and not allowing them to influence his kingdom. And yet it still does. That's why it was so important for David to have people close to him that were were wise. They sought the Lord. They had a relationship with him, and they took time to ask that question of James 1:5 for wisdom. Toxic toxic leadership is it's hard to get out from underneath, especially, in the job situation. I've been there. Um, when there's no other means to fight it, God may be saying it's time to remove yourself from it. Been there, done that. So, as we close out today, I mean, there's so much more I could dive into just in these 8 verses, but yeah, this is so key to we set out with the best intentions. They don't always go the way that we want them to. We make mistakes. It's just a fact of life. But what do you do with those mistakes? David vowed in Psalm 101 to reflect a dedication to God, but he stumbled along the way. But God didn't reject him. No matter how far you feel like you have drifted away or how badly you think you've messed up, God's arms are open, always open. So let me ask you this. What step can you take today? What would you do to realign yourself with God's principles, to seek happiness, to feel whole, to see the light? Can just be a simple James 1:5. I hope this blessed you. I hope you have an amazing Friday. It's the end of the week, the work week, and a great weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.